when it comes to RVing, whether you're a seasoned RVer or newer at it, there's always something new to learn, and that's what we're going to talk about today.
And before we even get started, we do have to give credit to RV Life. We read one of their articles, and that gave us the concept for this video. But what we really want to talk about are some of the more common mistakes that are made by the newer RVers.
Right.
Now, we do have an awful lot to go through. We have a pretty good size list here. So I think we can go ahead and get started with the very first common mistake by a newer RVer, which is
checklist.
Not having a checklist. We have checklists for everything, whether it's tearing down, setting up, hitching up our fifth wheel, unhitching our fifth wheel. My parents have been RVing as long as I can remember, and they still use checklists. There's a lot of seasoned RVers out there who still use a checklist, and there is nothing wrong with that. You may feel as a newer RVer, you might feel funny because you're using a checklist. If somebody's watching you, do not feel like that at all. Everybody should have in our opinion, they should have a checklist. Now, there are some resources online. You can do a search. There's a lot of checklists out there. It's a great place to start. And that's what we did. We went out, I believe it was a YouTube video we watched. We downloaded one of their checklists, and then we modified it for our specific needs. Remember, these checklists are written by somebody for them, right? Now they may be in a fifth wheel, you may be in a class A, a class C, so they may not match up, but they're a great place to start. And as you start using it, you can modify it, maybe move steps around a little bit, take out some steps, put some steps in that you need specific for you. But we do not do anything major without our checklist. You got to remember, we have a fifth wheel and a tow vehicle. One minor mistake could cost us thousands of dollars. If we hitch up our fifth wheel to the tow vehicle and we forget to lock the pin in for the hitch and we take off, the front of that RV could hit.
There goes our home.
Yeah, it could fall down on the tow vehicle. So now we have a busted up RV and we have a lot of damage to our tow vehicle. So checklist to me, I think is
totally worth it.
A number one. It's a freebie. It's easy. Very easy to follow. Just stick with it and follow a checklist. So,
modify it to your own benefit and just go from there. In fact, we just came across something that we wanted to change on ours after almost 2 years. We just saw something on ours that we want to change.
So it's a definitely dynamic document as it goes along. So checklist, very first thing. Something else we want to talk about, this is something else that is very common with the newer RVers, is going too fast. Now, I mean this in a couple different ways. Of course, one, you might be thinking about driving too fast, right? That's definitely a no-no. We probably go slower than most people. We usually drive around 62 miles an hour on the highway, no matter what the speed limit. Well, as long as it's faster than 62. I don't want to get in trouble. We've been in places out west, I think in Wyoming, it was 80 miles an hour. We still go around 62. We do stay in the right lane. We try to be as polite as we can, but we do slow down a little bit just to help save a little bit of fuel. But the other part of this is...
And for safety.
Definitely. The other part of this is slow down with your travel plans. And what I mean by that is you get your new RV, you're ready to go out on that very first trip. Maybe you're going to go across the United States. You want to see everything, right? So you're zipping from point A to point B. You stop, you look, you go. A couple of days later, you go. A couple of days later, you go. And you're moving along, and you're just wasting fuel. You're not really enjoying the time you have in a location. So that's what we mean by slow down. What we do, and is partially, honestly, because I work during the week, we can only travel on weekends. So we try to stay 2 weeks wherever we go. This on average. It doesn't always work out that way. But what that gives us is that's 2 weeks we're in one spot. We're not burning a lot of diesel fuel, only for our little sightseeing trips. The other thing is we get some discounts from this. There's a lot of RV parks and campgrounds that will give you a free night for every week that you stay there. So if we stay in a place for 2 weeks, we usually get 2 free nights. And if you really want to save some money, stay for a month.
Yeah.
Most campgrounds give you a really, really good reduced rate for a monthly rate.
Right.
So those are some other reasons just to kind of slow down. These places aren't going anywhere. Yellowstone will be there 100 years from now. The Tetons will be there. Take your time. Enjoy the trip getting out there. All these little places in between, we're finding out, are just a blast. Right?
Take it all in and enjoy it as much as you can.
The next thing we want to talk about is just kind of the third mistake that a lot of people do. Again, it probably goes back to you get your new RV, you're excited, you want to get on the road, but jumping in, getting on the road without any practice.
Yeah.
What we're really referring to is there's some driving practice you want to talk about, and also practice with the RV itself. So you don't want to get out there. Again, we were the same way. We were excited. We wanted to go, but we spent the time. We went into a large parking lot. We practiced backing up. We backed up to the left. We backed up to the right. We did some some turns to see how tight we could get around some obstacles. Just learning little things like that.
Wide turns.
She still tells me wide turns.
Yeah.
Day one, we had walkie-talkies for Dina to help me to back up. Right. We even practiced that in the parking lot. Yep. I would much rather make a mistake in a parking lot when nobody's around than to back my rig into a tree because I was anxious or nervous with people watching. So learning to pull an RV or drive, if you have a Class A, it's a heck of a lot different than driving a pickup truck, right? It's a lot longer. You have to take a lot wider turns. There's a lot to it. So spend the time, learn how to drive or learn how to tow. Yeah. In that case.
And I was going to say too, even the truck, we went from an F-150 to an F-350. And that's a big difference too, in just learning to drive that.
It really was. We're truck people, and we've had F1, pickup trucks our whole lives, and we went from an F-150 to the F-350 dually, and that took, to be honest, it took a little getting used to.
I was scared to death.
It's so much longer. The turns you have to make wider. So you definitely want to practice when you're not in a rush. Right. When you have some nice wide open spaces, you can always set up some cones to make them as tight as you want, but you want to practice when you're not in a rush. Now, the other thing we mean about practice is learning your RV. You don't want to get to a campground or an RV park, back in, because you practiced, you backed in, and now you're going to pull out your extension cord for the very first time, or maybe pull out your sewer hoses and hook them up for the very first time, or maybe learn how to use your solar or run on 12-volt DC instead of AC. All these kind of things you really want to practice when you're not in a hurry. Putting your slides out, what to check for, right? When you're extending your slides, make sure you're level first. You bring them in, you make sure they're not going to hit anything. It's always good to practice these kind of things when you're not in a hurry, when you're not in a rush, and you can really, really take your time. And
the thing that I still have to think on, even to this day, almost 2 years later, is the stairs. Don't put the stairs down until you've leveled your rig. I still get caught with that one because it's so easy. The checklist, I'm telling you,
the checklist has saved us multiple times. Now, the next thing we want to talk about, again, this is another common mistake that people, newer RVers make, is not planning your routes. This is a biggie, and this is something, I don't want to say it keeps me up at night, but it's something I think about all the time.
Well, especially with us being full time. But definitely, I think, just anyone who RVs would want to do.
We're pulling a 45-foot rig, so we have to plan our routes. The last thing you want to do is to be pulling something like this, turn down a dead-end street or a one-way street that you can't back out of. You want to avoid that at all costs. So we plan out everything. We're planning out all around. And if you're just doing a weekend trip to somewhere new, you can still plan that out too. You can do one of the things that we do after we plan everything out. The day before we go somewhere or to our next destination, I'll get on Google Maps and do like a satellite view of the location. I'll do a street view if it's available, so I know, okay, it's going to be on the right hand side when we get there.
Right.
The entrance is right next to this building or next to this billboard. So now I know as we're approaching, oh, I see that building, I see that billboard on the right hand side, I know where to turn in. All these kind of things help out quite a bit.
You're so good at that too.
Quite
always
a bit.
Making sure.
We actually did that in the beginning with truck stops.
Yeah.
When we were new at this, I was a little, I didn't want to go into a truck stop and not know how to get out of there.
Going the wrong way and take off a trucker or something like that.
But we used to do that at truck stops. I'd do a satellite view if I knew we were going to stop there for fuel. Say, okay, I can go in here, there's the pumps, and I can go out that way. Now, we're not quite as strict on that anymore. We're not intimidated by truck stops really anymore. So, you know, it's made for trucks, so I know I can get in and out of there. But again, planning your route, knowing your vehicle weights and heights, that's part of route planning. Again, RV Trip Wizard is what we use, and you can punch in the height of your RV, so it does, you know, route you around low bridges and low clearances and things like that. So part of route planning, knowing the height of your RV, the weights and lengths and things like that. So all that stuff is very, very important.
Very important.
If you find stuff like this helpful or entertaining, please subscribe to our channel. Make sure you hit the like button. It helps us out. It lets YouTube know that you enjoy our videos as well, and we just appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
This is a big one. This is something that we didn't think about until we kind of got burned a couple times.
Yeah.
But not calling ahead, right? Or not asking the right questions. What we mean is, if you go to the same campground all the time, this really doesn't apply to you. But if you're going to a new campground, especially as a full-timer, you know, one of the questions we ask now is, can we get mail? And that's a biggie.
That's a big one
for us. But even if you're not a full-timer, things like, do you allow pets? A lot of campgrounds only allow certain breeds of dogs. So, you know, these are kind of questions you may want to ask. Can you get mail?
Speaking of that, some will even ask, and we found this, especially going up the East Coast this year, they will ask for your vaccine records.
Yeah, so we keep rodeos records with us, and that's, you're right. Yeah. They ask for that.
Just be prepared.
Can I have a golf cart?
Yeah.
What if it's a gas-powered golf cart? Is gas-powered or electric?
Right.
Can you have e-bikes?
Yeah.
Can I have guests? If you can, how much is it per guest? Is there any restrictions on guests?
Right.
These are all types of questions that you can ask that it's just going to make your trip more enjoyable.
Especially if you're planning to be with family or friends.
Yeah.
Have them come in. You don't want your trip to be ruined by, oh, shoot.
Yeah, the last thing you want to do is to plan this great trip. You're going somewhere for a week with the family. You got your side-by-side in the back of your toy hauler, and you got 10 guests with you, and you get there only to find out side-by-sides aren't allowed, and you can only have 2 guests at a time.
Right.
So I know that's kind of an extreme example, but this stuff does happen.
It does happen. It could
calling ahead, asking the right questions. The other thing that we take advantage of when we're talking to people like this is we also ask them, what is there to do? What do you suggest in the area? And that's helped us out quite a bit as well. So, you know, just make sure you get out there and ask the right questions.
Definitely.
Okay, the next thing we want to talk about is purchasing or buying an improper tow vehicle. This is really, really important, and believe it or not, it happens quite often.
Yeah.
Depending on who you ask, if you ask 10 people, they're going to give you 10 different opinions. But you can ask somebody, can I pull this 20,000 pound 45-foot fifth wheel with my Ford F-150?
Yeah.
Some people are going to tell you, yes, I do it all the time, no problem. What you need to be aware of is legalities, insurance, safety. Sure, it might be possible to pull a 20,000 pound fifth wheel with an F-150, but is it safe? Can you stop in time? Is the vehicle really rated? Gross vehicle weight, is it rated to pull something like that? Whether it's a trailer pull or a fifth wheel, insurance wise, if you get into an accident and you're pulling something that your vehicle's not rated for, good luck with insurance paying for it, right? If they find out about it, or God forbid you hurt somebody or even kill somebody else, their lawyers end up finding out that you're pulling something that your tow vehicle's not rated for. You might be in for a world of hurt or a big
denied
surprise.
Coverage. You never know.
If not even worse.
If not even worse. Right.
So when you do ask advice on tow vehicles, sure, go get it, do some research, but it's up to you to make sure you look at all the numbers, gross vehicle weight, how much weight can go on each axle, overall weight, all this kind of stuff kind of goes hand in hand, and you really need to understand it, at least at an entry level, to make sure you get the right tow vehicle. Now, whatever you do, do not trust an RV dealer, and don't trust your pickup truck dealer either. Remember, the RV dealers, they just want to sell an RV. The trucks, they want to sell. The truck dealers, they want to sell pickup trucks. Right. They're going to tell you whatever they think you want to hear. They might. Yeah, that's true. They could tell you whatever they think you want to hear just so they can make that sale. So again, it's just up to you just to kind of fact check everything and make sure you do make the right decisions. Something else with tow vehicles or toads, vehicles that are being pulled behind another vehicle, things to kind of be aware of if you're going to go out and purchase one for RVing. Some of these vehicles, you can't have all 4 tires on the ground due to transmissions and overheating and things like that as they get pulled. Some of these vehicles, or we're going to call them toads, they're getting pulled behind an RV. You may have to buy a separate dolly so you can put the front tires up on the dolly to keep them from turning as they go down as you're being towed, to keep the transmissions from overheating as well. So these are some things to think about. Now, we talked a second ago about not trusting RV dealers and auto dealers. Something that happened to us a while back when we were looking to purchase an RV. We were pretty serious. We knew pretty close what we wanted. We got talking to an RV dealer, and he was pushing us, make the sale. You need to buy it now. At the time, we were in a Ford F-150. There was no way that thing could carry that fifth wheel. So we politely, kind of backed off a little bit, but he was consistent. Oh, you can purchase the RV now and get a tow vehicle later.
You should purchase the RV.
You should purchase it now, then get a tow vehicle later. Or, no. And if you remember, during COVID, we were lucky to even find a tow vehicle.
Yeah.
So could you imagine if we would have purchased that RV at that point? We could have ended up not getting a tow vehicle, having to leave our RV on the dealer's lot. And what does that mean? They're probably going to use it for demos, let people walk through it. If they need parts, they're probably going to start taking parts off of it. Wasn't a good picture.
Or we'd end up paying rent.
While we're waiting to get a tow vehicle. So use your judgment on that. Not everybody's going to be a bad salesperson or dishonest, but just something just to be aware of. Yeah. So tow vehicles is a very, very big thing. Make sure you understand the weight limits before you purchase a tow vehicle. Or if you buy an RV first, and then you go to purchase a tow vehicle, make sure you understand the weights and capacities of everything.
And the height. Weights and height.
Well, the height is for the RV.
Oh, yeah.
Not the tow vehicle.
Sorry.
Thanks for the input.
Well, I thought we were forgetting to say that. Okay, sorry.
All right, the next common mistake, and this is something that can really happen to, it doesn't have to be a new RVer, but not purchasing the correct insurance policy, whether you're overinsured or underinsured. Now, overinsured really is just going to mean you're probably going to have a lot of coverage that you don't really need, or you may have overlapping coverage. Now, in our case, we have a insurance policy for our tow vehicle through one company, and our RV is through another company. So we really don't want a lot of overlap between the two companies. Now, being uninsured, there's something else you got to be careful about. Now, us as full-timers, we added some protection in there for if we ever break down, we can get coverage for hotel costs. Hotel costs while we're broke down, or partially paid for, help ease the pain. As a full-timer on the road 365 days a year, it's probably going to happen at some point. So we do have some coverage for that. But if you're just somebody who goes out on the weekend, maybe you stay within 50 miles of your home, you really don't need something like that. So that'd be a case of being overinsured.
Right.
So just when you're looking at insurance policies, just kind of think of some of these situations you may find yourself in and look for the correct insurance policy. The other thing to be aware of is some policies do not cover full-time RVers.
Right.
So that just to be aware of that. And don't think you're gonna scam the insurance companies because somehow they know. Big brother knows somehow. So last thing you want to do is try to save a little bit of money only to find out they're not going to cover you when you really need it. So insurance, that's something else to consider. I think what we're going to do is probably stop here for today. We've kind of covered quite a bit. We do have about another 7 or 8 more items we want to talk about. So we're going to split this actually into 2 videos.
Right.
And then we'll pick this up again next week.
Yep.
So hopefully you got something out of this.
We hope you enjoyed today's video. We hope that you learned something. And if you have any comments or want to let us know something that you have questions on or want to know more about, or tell us something, what happened to you or whatever, please share below and let us know. We hope that you have a great week.
Remember, always live life to the fullest.
Safe travels and God bless.